Hello and good afternoon. This afternoon we're introducing the IHS virtual information session on the Managing Infrastructure for Green Cities specialization track as part of the Urban Management and Development Masters here at IHS. Sorry we're running a bit late. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. So we've set out about an hour of time this afternoon. We're just going to discuss the program, what life is like here at IHS, and really dig into the content of the specialization as well. My name is Fergal. I'm the admissions officer here at IHS. I'm here today with the course coordinator, Oghenis Brilante, and our course coordinator, Julia Skinner. So I will set out our agenda for today. So as I said, we have about an hour to introduce ourselves, introduce the program, introduce the institute, and then I'll hand over to my colleagues and we'll really dig into the specialization and the course content and the structure of what you'll be learning as well. Towards the end, we'll talk about practical matters, what it's like to apply, the admissions procedure, what an IHS student tends to look like before they arrive, what an IHS alumni looks like when they leave us. So during the presentation, we have a chat box open on the screen. So if you have any questions, please just write them as they pop into your head. And at the end, we'll circle back and we'll answer any questions you might have. So let's get started. As I said, the Infrastructure and Green City Specialization track is part of our flagship program. It's the Urban Management and Development Program. So every October, IHS welcomes about approximately 100 urban specialists who join this master's program. They join one of 6 specialization tracks, and in the block 1, we are doing a lot of group work. We're doing a lot of general courses and a lot of programs designed to enhance knowledge sharing between different specializations and different groups. But from quite early on, when you join your specialization track, you will be digging into the course content of that specialization. In block 2, you'll be dealing with the course content of that specialization specifically and exclusively. In block 2, the idea is that you'll also have access to a program of guest lectures that we have throughout the program, and we also have a portfolio of optional or supplementary elective programs as well. The idea is that between block 1 and block 2, we're setting you up to have a really specialized and defined understanding of your specialization track, but also you have an overview of the multidisciplinary stuff that we actually are interested in here at IHS. And all of this is to set you up so that you're ready to tackle your thesis in blocks 3 and 4. So I just hand over to my colleagues and they're going to introduce the Managing Infrastructure for Green Cities team and the course content in more detail.
Hello, everybody. My name is Oghenis Brilante. I am one of the coordinators of the specialization, and I have here my colleague.
Hello, my name is Julia Skinner, and I'm also the coordinator. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, buenos dias, buenas tardes, hello.
Yes, as you can see here in the slide, that's the picture of some of our fixed lectures of the specialization. We have 8 people from IHS and from others Erasmus University department. And then we have several guest lectures that are also part of the specialization. Now, the rationale of the specialization, I would like to call your attention for the picture that you can see. What we can see in this picture, there is a lot of infrastructure put in a site to deliver service. We can see that there are several buildings. The buildings deliver service of place to people to live, to leisure, to education, to work. We have also roads, which the service is transportation for autos. We have bicycle lanes. We have walking. We have green areas, which also I produce service of landscaping and so. And then the specialization is about infrastructure that is put in place to deliver service. So decision on the type of infrastructure and the service that we want to put in a place will affect the nature of the site, the livability of the site, the sustainability, climate change, and also the quality of life. The specialization is then, as I have already mentioned, is about managing urban infrastructure to deliver good quality of service. It means all service that should be delivered, they have a predetermined level of the service, which is in the contract that is given to the service provider. So we teach you how to managing the infrastructure, which is composed of different assets and components to deliver service with good quality. So that's just what we are going to see in the first part of the specialization. I will give some more information in the structure, description of the structure of the specialization. So the specialization also is about using the IHS Green City Concept Framework as a comprehensive urban framework to improve city sustainability, livability, and green performance to better managing climate change extremes. When we talk about climate change extreme, we're talking about water events, so flooding or droughts, or also landslides. So this Green City Framework can be downloaded in the website. If you go to the website of IHS, to our part of the website, you can download our Green City framework and also the tools that we have developed to calculate environmental performance and the green city performance. Well, everybody in this time, everybody talks about climate change, and related to the climate change, the specialization covers mitigation and adaptation approach to all infrastructure asset composing the built environment. That is mainstreamed through the specialization as a cross-cutting issue. The specialization is also, we see a city as divided in three parts, so three components. One part is what we call the built environment, that we also name the infrastructure, man-made part. The other part is the nature, which include all the green aspect and nature itself. And the third component or part are the citizens. So the citizens decide what kind of service and the infrastructure to put in a place that will affect the nature. And this can also feedback affecting the citizen on that if there is some deterioration of the environmental quality or the health of the citizen. So infrastructure, cities decide at the end what kind of infrastructure they will put the service, and this will feedback affect the quality of life of the citizen. What does the specialization provide? Knowledge, theories, concept, process, technology, and research skills to manage infrastructure asset. How we provide this knowledge and the skills? Well, through education for green jobs. Green jobs, we talk all about the new technology, about renewables energy, about circular economy, also showing the new innovation that are being done in this field. And learning by doing, we use tools. We have several tools that I will talk in this presentation, and lots of practical exercise and field visits. Sectors, what sectors issue the specialization cover? Green transport. In this part, we focus on non-motorized and motorized transportation. Non-motorized, it means bicycle lanes, walking. We see a green city as a city that citizens can walk or can bike. And then also we will see about green infrastructure, with some colleagues also call it nature-based approach, what we also call it make infrastructure using low impact development. And green infrastructure is focused especially on managing flooding. So flooding reduction, green and also building green public space. Example of green infrastructure are green facades, roofs, green linear corridors, use of interlocked bricks or permeable pavement, building up ponds, stormwaters, etc. We cover also another sector that's called solid waste and wastewater management, which includes circular economy. My colleague Julia Skinner will talk a little bit later about circular economy, which important point are reuse and recycling. We also cover the drinking water management sector, the provision of drinking water, and at the end, we cover the electricity sector and renewable energy. That's this specialization at a glance. Here you can see the structure of the specialization. In the subsequent slide, we will comment a little bit about each of these modules. The specialization starts, the first part is the first week. We introduce infrastructure asset management. All infrastructure is composed, it's a system composed of different assets, the structured and non-structured assets. And after, we also deal with different links with infrastructure and different sectors of the city. And then the second week, we have a week about the Green City workshop. We introduce our Green City framework, the process of development of the framework, and then we continue with a grand debate where we debate the most important theories and concept behind the development of the Green City framework. And we finish with a practical exercise on calculate the environmental performance of 3, 4, or 5 cities, depending on the procedence of the students. After these 2 weeks, the student will choose 2 thematic areas. One thematic areas will cover energy and transport, and the other water and sanitation. The thesis will be done mainly within these 2 thematic areas. Those thematic areas, they are elective for the students. One student can select one or another, and the first 2 modules are compulsory. Again, the first 2 modules are compulsory. After that, you select one of the thematic areas, and once you select your thematic area, it becomes compulsory to you. After this, they come together, all the students, to a module called Finance and Business Plans, where you have information about finance instruments for infrastructure and a practical exercise on preparing a business plan. And then after that, we have 1-day workshop on South Korea case workshop. It's a green linear corridor built in the heart of Seoul, capital of South Korea, where we assess and try to discuss the sustainability issues of this project. And we end the specialization with a 4 days workshop on using the SimCity game, which we simulate the planning of a green city with different entry points and different objectives for each group. So as I mentioned from the previous slide, the specialization consists of 7 different through highly interrelated key focus areas modules. The first module, first week, it covers infrastructure, asset management, and governance. Managing infrastructure is about managing assets. Assets are structured, all kinds of physical assets, machines, roads, wastewater treatment plants, but also non-structured, like policy, programs, plan, and human being, also the staff that are work for the company. Those are also assets. So then we introduce the concept of asset management and several management theories. The specialization is about management. And management involves planning, organizing, controlling, and also resource. It means resource, we talk about financial, natural, technological, and human resource. Then we also describe and discuss important terms linked to infrastructure. The first one is critical infrastructure, infrastructure that are absolutely important for the working of the cities. And then we go for discussion about green infrastructure. What is green infrastructure in our perspective, but also in the perspective of other groups? We talk about resilient infrastructure, and finally about the concept of retrofit. The next, or after this, we goes for each sector, describing for drinking water, wastewater, solid waste, energy, and the transport, the different components and assets that each sector contains. And then in this week, an important issue is about operation and maintenance plan, including rehabilitation and replacement. That is essentially the delivery of service with good quality depends very much on this part of operation and maintenance. And we end this week covering different examples of performance assessment or benchmarks. In the second week, we will have the Green City workshop. We introduced the IHS Green City framework and the links with infrastructure, sustainability, environment, climate change, and sustainability, and livability. So we have after a grand debate where the groups, the students are divided in groups and several articles are delivered to them to debate with a moderator that in general me or my colleague Julia on doing this. And then there is a debate about the 3 pillars of sustainability, about complexity, especially climate change and the complexity governance. We discussed the 2 concepts, the 2 paradigms, compact city versus make room for cities to grow. We discuss about livable city, sustainable city, and also the concept of eco-efficiency. The end of the week, we have an exercise where we calculate how green a city is. In other words, we calculate the environmental performance of the cities in 2 periods of time. Then we split the groups. We have a half-a-day consultation with all the students, where the student will select the thematic area that they will focus. And in general, they will choose their research topics related to these thematic areas. The first thematic areas is energy and transport. And then we'll see for the energy, the institutional arrangement and governance. And then we focus on the electricity, where we are looking for the different ways of production, transportation, and consumption, decentralized and decentralized grids. Nowadays, we are producing, every single house has produced their own electricity via renewable technology. They can also connect this excess of energy to the grid. And we are also to discuss about the price and tariffs. Then we have a block dedicated to the renewable energy to produce electricity and heat, focus on different technologies, different options, the efficiency of this technology, the costs, the impacts, and then we talk about the environmental impacts of this technology, and we focus again on the pros and the cons of decentralized grids. And we finish this part about green buildings. So one essential part of the green building is energy performance, so energy efficiency. We talk about main certification schemes like LEEDs or BREEAMs, and then I have a case study about European Union energy performance certificates. On the transport part, we also cover all this sector. The first lecture is about the institutional arrangement and governance of the sector. Governance is extremely important. governance, you look at how we talk about internal governance, the governance of within the organization, and the governance of the city, the organization within the city, which is more complex. And then we start by discussion overview this institutional arrangement governance, and then we go to the so-called green transport. We define green transport for us using based on the green fields, accessibility, and then affordability. Affordability is the side also everybody talk about affordability, but what is affordability? Affordability is defined by different way, but for us is how much a family is spending on transportation on their income. And in general, we say that the transportation is affordable, it is about 30%. That is only for transportation, 45% for transportation and the rent. We also cover the non-motorized transport, which is walk, bicycle lanes, and the micromobility. The cities are full of this micromobility that are also bring some improvement, facilitation, improve accessibility, but also create a lots of other impacts in the city. We also discuss about the smart and car sharing schemes that are proliferating in many cities. After this, we just goes for a sub-module that we call it public modes of transport, focus on metro line, bus, BRTs, train, and then we have an interesting case study, urban cable car. Then in the city of La Paz in Bolivia, they have the longest urban cable car in the world, and it works like a metro system. And then we finish this part with a lecture about the port and logistic, focus on the case of Rotterdam. The other thematic areas is called water and sanitation. In this part, we also, as I mentioned already before, we start with institutional arrangement and governance of the water, the drinking water sector, and the storm water. And then we talk about storm water, which is linked to green infrastructure. As I mentioned, some people also call it nature-based approach, but for us it's something else. Nature-based approach is one component of green infrastructure. And then we go some different examples, what cities are doing regarding to urban green space, green linear corridors, green roofs and facades, interlocked brick porous material. We gave example, but also explanation on the infrastructure and the pros and the cons on using each of this infrastructure. And then the next sector within the water, we cover drinking water sector, which include distribution, collection, treatment, disposal, standards, and tariffs. Then we have colleagues that come to talk about integrated water resource management and the river-based management. That is very much example on the Dutch experience, what they are doing here to integrate, to manage water in an integration way, and they also link it with a lot of infrastructure. In this managing water, integrated water resource management, there is canal, there is bridge, there is several other issues that are related to infrastructure as well. The thematic area water sanitation continue with wastewater. We again introduce the institutional arrangement governance of wastewater, and then we focus on household wastes, including solid waste we are talking about. So here we talk about household waste and building waste, collection, distribution, treatment and disposal, standard and tariffs. And then we have circular economy that I'm going to ask my colleague Julia Skinner to talk about a few words about this. Please, Julia.
Hello, yes. The concept of circular economy, we talked about it very linked to waste. We already know that many local governments, many cities cannot manage their waste. We see waste everywhere. Waste is asphyxiating many cities, waste in the streets, waste in the rivers, in the lakes. That is why the concept of circular economy has been reactivated in 2010 by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And I say reactivated because this concept has been alive since the 96, since 1969, and has been reactivated because of the need of being able to manage waste much better. So this concept is talking about zero waste. Yeah, we are very used to have a linear production of waste. Is when we produce, we use, and we waste it. We generate waste. While this concept is talking about not a linear production, but a circular production, where waste becomes a resource. Yeah, it is called a secondary resource. Yeah, where waste is used in different stages. Yeah, where the products are designed to be reused again in different products, in different ways. Yeah, and that is why this concept nowadays is really important in order to not deplete our natural resources. For the Dutch government is really interested in the circular economy concept, and they are investing a lot of money in research and development. And the goal for 2030 is become 50% circular, and for 2050, 100%.
So just before to complement, because I forgot to mention that on the sanitation, we also cover wastewater, which include the centralized system, and we include collection and treatment for the cities, but also individual sanitation. We focus on the septic tanks and some examples of latrine or economical sanitation, and also again the standards and tariffs. So then after this, all the students come together, and then we have a so-called 3 or 4 days on financing, infrastructure, and business plans. First, there will be guest lecturers talking about traditional and alternative options of financing infrastructure, the different instruments. And then we have a selection about the concepts of PPP and project finance, the whole of the private sectors, including financial instrument and green infrastructure investment. At the end of it, during these 3 or 4 days, we have developed a practical exercise. We prepare a business plan for one specific infrastructure sector, and that's going to be conducted by one staff of IHS. Then, as I mentioned already, we have a workshop about the eco-restoration project of in Seoul, South Korea. As you can see in this picture, in the left side, we have seen that we used to have a railroad which cut the heart of Seoul, and the underground in this railroad, there was an ancient river where the city was found. With the time, this river became a sewage, and then the pillars of the highway were built inside the sewage, and with the time, the pillars started to be corroded and managed to be destroyed. So the municipality of Seoul has decided to take away the whole highway and rediscover the ancient river and transform in a green linear corridor. So in this workshop, we have a special video prepared by the municipality of Seoul, which will discuss the pros and the cons of the project, and we also make a discussion about the sustainability of the project, look at the 3 pillars, social, economic, and environment. And that says the end of the specialization. We use a simulation game to plan and manage a city and the region. In fact, what we do here is we divide the student in 4 teams working parallel to develop the region and its green city with political BS. One group will develop a city, will plan a city with a BS of environment, green, another with social, another with economic development, and another with balanced development, which tries to reflect the balance between the 3 pillars. This week workshop is a recapitulation of all the issues that the students have learned during the specialization. And during also, then it's the last part, but the specialization also comprises different tools and field visits. The tools, for instance, they are distributed along the different modules. The first tool I have already mentioned is to calculate the environmental performance of a city. We have another tool about about infrastructure permit, where we gave a lecture about environmental impact assessment to get the environmental permit for infrastructure projects. Then we have other to the business plan that we have already described, and we have the planning of the city. And we have a tool called GIS. We use GIS to help to managing and the managing finance infrastructure. Julia will continue to describe a little bit about the field visits of the specialization. Field visits. Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah. So a question we get quite a lot actually when during the application period and in these webinars that we've been doing is what is an IHS student, what is their background, and what do they hope to get from the program? Within the admissions team, we always try and make this really clear. There is no one type of IHS student. So as I said, the classroom is normally about 100 students. We're completely international here in IHS, and those 100 students will come from 40 to 50 different countries. I think something that all of our students really share is that they are professionals in their own right. They're familiar in their field. They've got professional exposure and research exposure, but they're looking to upskill. So a great thing that you see in the IHS classroom is architects talking to civil engineers, lawyers talking to economists, people from all sorts of different fields who are looking to gain something new from the course. So the infographic you can see here, it just gives you an idea of the geographic breakdown of our alumni. So for the last 3 years, these are where our students have come from. What you'll find though is that every year it changes. Similarly, something my colleague Julia can talk a little bit about is how diverse all of our alumni are as well.
Yes. Hello. Well, we have, I used to be the president of the alumni network. And nowadays we have more than 10,000 alumni in our network. And these are our best resource, yeah? And they can talk, they are the best example of what we do in IHS. They represent us very well. We have lawyers, nowadays we have ministries, we have mayors, we have consultants, we have advisors to very important positions in the government. Well, in my own flesh, I am an alumni. We're talking about UMD 17 now, and I belong to the UMD 7 batch. And I'm telling you guys, I wouldn't be here talking to you as a program manager for the whole masters and as a coordinator for the specialization if it wasn't because I follow these masters. So it is life-changing, guys.
Now, we forget there was some slept in the slides, but we come back about the field visits. Julia, please go back.
Yeah. Okay. So about the field visits. Well, we have 7 field visits, and we are the specialization with the biggest number of field visits. And the reason is very simple. It is because the Netherlands is a country that is really interested in becoming carbon neutral by reducing their gas emissions and becoming a zero waste country. And within this, Rotterdam, it has, according to its vision 2030, they want to become self-sufficient, self-sustained, and a livable city. Yeah, that's why here in-house in Rotterdam, we can find a lot of examples about green infrastructure. Yeah, we can see, for example, in the first visit, we're going to see the green features here in Rotterdam. We have a picture of a central station, of a square, and of a market, of a roof market. What Rotterdam is investing a lot of money is in becoming a city attractive for cyclists and attractive for pedestrians. And we can see it in every corner. The second visit we have is to the university, to the campus here, because our university, Erasmus, wants to become the greenest campus in the Netherlands. So it's really interesting to come around, walk around, and see what activities and what actions the university is investing in. Then we have the third visit is to RET, which is the public transport system that is offered here. We're going to go to the control center, where it's a kind of NASA guy. It's a kind of NASA. It is unbelievable to see all the infrastructure that they have to control, to monitor, and to make sure that the service is running accordingly and efficient. The fourth visit is the storm surge barrier. Well, you all know that the country is 6 meters below sea level. So in order to protect us from flooding, they have the Delta project. And this storm surge barrier is part of the Delta project, and it is located in Rotterdam, and it is helping us not to flood. It is opened for the public every September, so everybody who wants to see how it works can go every September. The next one, please. Yeah, the fifth visit is to look at how the Dutch people, how Rotterdam here is managing floods. We have two examples. One is the duck park, and the other one is the water plane. In the duck park, actually, is the largest green roof in Europe. Yeah, and we are going to look at it, how it generated all the arrangements that the government and the people. It was a participative process. We're going to look into that. We're going to see that. And in the water plane, we're going to see how the Dutch people, Rotterdam here, how they store water in order to avoid flood. The sixth visit is a wastewater treatment plant. We're going to see how in Rotterdam they clean all their water in order to, before the water is sent back to the canals, it has to be clean. And we're going to look at all the process that the water is being exposed to. And the last visit is a very interesting visit. It's a whole day visit to Amsterdam to look at the first circular building done in the Netherlands, which belongs to the AMRO Bank. And then we're going to look at the first self-sustained neighborhood, which is nearby, which is called the Kovel and Schipsholm.
Okay. Well, about us, I'm not going to read all those things. This presentation you can find back in the site, in our website. But we have worked several projects within our group, Green City and Infrastructure. Actually, we are implementing projects called Sustainable Tourism and Green Growth for Heritage Settlement of Kathmandu Valley in Nepal. We also have recently finished an evaluation of water monitoring flow forecast system in Niger. And then we conduct also training for making under cities green in time for climate change, which includes strategy to reduce water, energy, and transport sectors focus on impact and vulnerability caused by water extreme. Regarding to research, I recommend you to go to our website and to try to download the green city concept and a method to measure green city performance over time applied to 50 cities globally. That says this article. It was published last year. Then you can download it and they have explanation about the methodology of that we created to measure green city performance, that also using the IHS green city concept. We have also developed other tools to calculate the environmental performance over time of a city, and a methodology to implement a green city action plan. This is an article that was published in a congress in Singapore last year. And finally, you can also download another research that we have conducted for City Allies, called the Urban Expansion Compact City Debate in the context of Mozambique. Then something about Julia.
Well, you can read. You can read, really, but I can read it for you, of course. I teach about green cities, about urban social development, of course, about solid waste management and circular economy. But it's also very important also to talk about participatory processes, because here in the Netherlands, everything is done through participatory processes. And some people think, no, we can only do that in the third world, on the developing countries. No, in developed countries, it's used a lot also. Yeah, and I teach also about poverty reduction and livelihood approach. As a consultant, I have worked in Bolivia. I have worked in the Philippines, and I helped implementing a new master's in Yerevan, and also a short course similar to the one we're doing in Green Cities in Kosovo, Georgia, and Moldova. And I have also worked in the Philippines, is the one that I did for the role of women's organizations in climate change induced resettlement. And as a researcher, I have been working already with Oghenis for 5 years, yeah, in developing green city tools. And I have done research also promoting sustainable construction in the EU, and talking about the building codes and incentive mechanisms used in some European municipalities to promote sustainable housing.
Okay, so we hope that was informative. We hope that was clarifying. I think there was a lot of information to go over in that presentation. So we're rounding out the presentation now. So if you do have any questions for Oghenis or for Julia, please do feel free to type them into the chat box. But just to close out, we'll cover some practical matters. I don't know if some of you have already applied. I recognize some of your names in the chat box, or some of you were just thinking about applying. But so the Urban Management and Development Masters is a full 12-month program. We always advise students that this is a very intense program. It's going to be intense, it's going to be enjoyable, but you're going to do a whole lot more work than what you've seen today. So every October we welcome you, and we go for a full 50 weeks, really, all the way until September 2021, where there's a graduation. It's one of the best times of the year. It's time you're a very close family by the end. You recognize all the staff, and we're always very happy to see you all move on to the next chapter. The tuition fee is €13,900. That's a rate for all of our students. And if any of you are thinking about applying and have questions about the funding, I'd always recommend you check out our scholarship and funding database on our website. There's a link there on the side of the page. Something to bear in mind though, there is an early bird discount. So anyone who applies now and makes a payment before June 1, there is a reduction in the tuition fee of €1,000. But we always recommend, no matter where you are in the application journey, if you're thinking about applying, if you've already applied, just ask us any questions you might have. It's so easy just to ask us a question you might have, and we can get those answers for you rather than you thinking about it later. Just in terms of admissions requirements, like I said, we're looking at a completely international cohort of students. We test for academic level, and we look at where you've studied previously. We also look at your the modules you have previously completed. We really want to make sure that you have a background that's relevant to what you're going to be studying at IHS and in your specialization track, and also that you're prepared or familiar to work in a completely international environment. We are international. English is the working language, and we do check for English language ability at the application. But I'd always recommend that a final part of the admissions requirements is a motivational essay. This is a very short assignment. It's really an opportunity for you to express what your academic interests are. We hope that you're all urban specialists and you have a project that you're very passionate about. And we ask that you write 500 words on that project just so we understand what you hope to gain from studying at IHS. So as I said, that's our presentation done now. We hope that was helpful for some of you. What we'll do now is we'll wait a few minutes and see if you have any questions. If you don't have any questions, that's fine. This will be an online resource. We're going to keep it up on Facebook for a few more days, so you can consult it whenever, if you're thinking about applying or if you've already applied. But if you don't have any questions, that's also fine. At the end of the presentation, we'll share our contact information, and we just want to make sure that you feel confident reaching out and ask us any questions that you might have. So if you have any questions, just write them in the chat box. Looks to me like it was a perfect presentation and there are no questions.
Yeah, very clear.
Very, very informative.
Okay.
Well, just to finalize, come and join us, Guy.
Yeah.
We'll have
Okay.
fun and you will learn a lot. And your professional life is going to change.
If you do have any questions, guys, please make sure to just message the admissions office directly. That's our generic email address, but you can find any of our profiles on the website.
Yes.
Dig around, there's a whole bunch of information that we haven't shared as well. But until we see you in October,
Okay.
thank you very much.
And please go to our website and try to download the articles and see some of the research line that we have put today.
Thanks very much, guys.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Okay, good.
Okay, thanks.